Levack and Goz here with you on 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. It's a Friday, and that means as we get closer and closer to Kentucky Derby Day and the Triple Crown season, Andy Serling will be joining us. And Andy, let's recap last week's prep races. Was there any performances that really stood out to you?
I think it was funny. It's more what didn't stand out, you know? The race in California San Diego Derby was ugly, and it's very hard to make a case for any of those horses. The Bluegrass, a lot of horses just completely failed to show up. I mean, Maiden won the race, and the at that point sort of favorite McCracken did not run well and doesn't suggest he may want to go a mile and a quarter. J-Boy's Echo and Tappert were complete no-shows. Far and away, and I'm not saying this because I'm a homer. I'm a homer. But I'm not saying it, but far and away the best of preps was the Wood Memorial. Got a 101 buyer. The other races got a 93 and an 88. To put into perspective, that's a lot of lengths. And Irish Warcry was very impressive. And two of his three races prepping for this Triple Crown of his last three have been very good. The problem is he had a bad one in the middle. And the problem I have going forward with him from the Wood Memorial is the track was very conducive to horses with early speed, and he was in very good position. And if you look at a lot of our races, I think it was advantageous to be in the front. So I think it might have exaggerated him a bit. So while Irish Warcry out of last weekend's races is clearly the best one coming out of them, I'm just not 100% sure you can trust them, and it's a very funny Derby this year.
Andy, would you think now, after watching the last three prep races this weekend, that right now the Florida Derby is probably the best prep and that Always Dreaming should be the favorite come Kentucky Derby time?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't. I'm very concerned with whether or not a Todd Pletcher horse that runs well in Florida is going to bring that good race down to Kentucky. It wasn't that good a performance anyway. It was a track that was kind of speed, and he had a very good trip in there at a moderate pace. His figure of 97 puts him in range, but it doesn't make him the favorite. And when you think of all these sort of intangibles, no, I think Irish Warcry should be a shorter price than him. I'm not sold on either one of them. I think they're two of the favorites. The truth is, a lot's going to hinge on what happens this weekend in Arkansas.
And let's get to that Arkansas Derby. 2 years ago, we saw American Pharoah win that race before he went on to win the Triple Crown. What can we expect this weekend?
Well, I mean, what you can expect and what happens in horse racing are two different things. But the big story is Classic Empire. Because Classic Empire, the 2-year-old champion from last year's win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile was one of the more impressive Breeders' Cup Juvenile wins we've ever seen in that race. And if that horse were to progress from 2 to 3, he would be an overwhelming favorite in this Derby. The problem is he ran once back in February. He stunk the joint up, and he's had a series of, sort of missteps, not working, missing races, issues, and now he comes back over 2 months later, and he's a heavy favorite in this Arkansas Derby, and he drew well in Post 2. So one of two things can happen in this race. One is he gets back to his good form, runs a big race, and he's a real favorite for the Derby. The other is he runs a lackluster race, and we don't even see him in the Derby. So I don't know what to expect from him. I wouldn't bet him as the favorite, but he's absolutely the horse to beat. And at this point, he's sort of the most intriguing horse left. But sometimes it's the horses that don't run that become the most interesting when races disappoint. And the thing for me about the Arkansas Derby is every horse that ran the Rebel, including the winner Malagasy or Malagasy, however you pronounce it, nobody seems to know how to pronounce it. I don't think I have to worry about how to pronounce it because I don't think he has a chance in the Derby, and he drew poorly on Post 12. And to me, I want to take a shot with a sort of price horse stretching out from 6.5 furlongs down the hill on the turf named Rockin' Rudy, who drew the rail for Doug O'Neill, who trained Nyquist last year for those same connections. And I'm going to try to wire the field with Rockin' Rudy. But Classic Empire is the story coming into this race and maybe even coming out regardless of what he does.
After watching the prep races this weekend, you're looking forward to the Arkansas Derby this weekend. What do you say after Bob Baffert's had so much success the last 2 or 3 years in the Derby and not having a horse run at all now in this year's Derby?
I say what Bob would probably say. I've had unbelievably good luck in my life to have horses like American Pharoah and now even Arrogate, even though he wasn't in the Triple Crown races as other horses. I mean, Bob is a marvelous trainer, and arguably you could argue that he may be the greatest dirt trainer of our lifetimes, at least, if not longer than that. But Bob's going to tell you, I'm only as good as the horse in my barn, and, I didn't have the right horses this year. And he did have the right horse. He had the right horse in Mastery. The problem is that Mastery got injured after winning on the San Felipe, I think, one of the preps of the Santa Anita Derby. He would have been a heavy favorite for this Derby, but he got injured after that. And the other thing Bob would say is, I've been fortunate. Not only have I had the right horses, but they've stayed sound. I mean, so much in this game is having your horses stay sound, because I'm sure you could sit down a lot of trainers and they could have said, I could have won that Derby if only so-and-so hadn't gotten hurt.
Nair's Andy Serling joining us here on the phone lines. Levack and Goz, 1045, 1045theteam.com. And maybe I should be reintroducing you as podcast host, Andy Serling. Tell us a little bit about the podcast venture you're taking on.
Do you have podcast envy?
A little bit.
I understand. If you guys are really good, maybe I'll have you on. It's funny that this is something that Pat McKenna, who's the director of communications at Naira, and I were talking about last summer, and let's do some podcasts and try it out. And at the end of the day, we want to do anything here that people might like. Anything that sort of makes our customers, and as we call them, guests, happy. And hopefully a lot of them will listen. It's been a lot of fun. We launched it yesterday. The first guest was Harvey Pack, who I don't think needs any introduction. He's certainly very popular upstate. And we're trying to bring in interesting, entertaining people from racing to talk about it. Harvey's 90 years old, and I hope that I'm as sharp as Harvey at this age, because he's really great in talking about stuff going past and even forward and talking about racing in general. And it's just sort of a lot of fun sitting down with him. We've got more of them coming up. I did one with Dave Grenning I thought was a lot of fun, and it's available. You go to iTunes or SoundCloud or Google Play, subscribe and listen. And I hope people enjoy it, and I hope people listen. It's been a fun thing to get involved with. I've only done a couple so far, but I'm looking forward to getting together with a lot of people going forward.
As always, Nair stepping their game up when it comes to the media side of it, and it's not only just the podcast, but now nairanow is upgrading some things involving some morning workouts.
Yeah, well, we just started this new app, nairanow, and it's available on iOS devices as well as Androids and I think Google Chrome. It'll be available at all sorts of things, Xbox and Roku and Amazon Fire and Apple TV in just a few coming weeks. It's a tremendous app. Listen, I work at Naira, and I'm going to sell what we do. This one is an easy sell. We've gotten, just came out last week. We've had thousands of people downloading it. Believe it or not, we've had nothing but positive responses about it. You can do anything you want with this. You can watch the race in HD. You can choose your camera. You can watch them, head-ons or pans. You can go to cameras around the track. We're going to have paddock cameras. They just opened up the Oklahoma and Saratoga. We're going to have a camera there where you'll be able to watch the morning workouts on there. You can watch Talking Horses in its entirety. You can watch race by race. You can watch replays, old stakes. Richard Migliori and I are doing stuff. It's got anything you could possibly want, and I really urge people to download the nairanow app. I guarantee they're not disappointed.
It's an exciting thing, an exciting venture, and again, it's springtime when you hear Andy Serling's voice on 1045 The Team. Andy, we'll talk to you again next Friday. Take care and enjoy the weekend.
Thank you. I look forward to it.